All right, Toy. Well, I'm sure by now you've heard of Bitcoin, the cryptocurrency. Well, we've done segments on it, but still we get a lot of questions. What is it? Actually, I don't understand all just perfectly, but what are the advantages of disadvantages if you own Bitcoin? Marshall Clay with the Welsh Group joins us now with another segment on this. Very complex topic here, Marshall, this morning.
It is. Yeah, and I think last week, we talked about Bitcoin, the intention of it, and how it was designed to increase financial efficiency, essentially get rid of the third-party intermediaries, and save people money on transactions. And then we talked about its ascension as a store of value relative to fiat currencies and how governments have been printing money around the world. So where does that leave us? So advocates of Bitcoin say, look, we've got this secure digital ledger that makes financial transactions more secure. We've got this decentralized network where we've got a finite amount of Bitcoin. So governments can't come in and actually create more. And so what's not to like, right? Mm-hmm. But I think the cons is that it's tremendously volatile. I think you and I talked about it before we came on yesterday. It was above 50,000, 51,000. Now it's probably going to be back below 50,000 this morning. And I think what you're going to continue to see is you're going to continue to see it be very volatile. It's going to be subject to a lot more regulatory scrutiny. If you look at China, for example, they placed an outright ban on cryptocurrency. Mm-hmm. I would imagine that it's going to fall the same way ultimately in the U.S., Europe, and around the world, just because governments have that monopoly on the fiat currency. And then you've got the additional security concerns. While the actual Bitcoin network itself is essentially unhackable, the exchanges which you exchange Bitcoin from one person to another, they do have some security concerns, and some of those Bitcoin have been hacked. And then you've got the additional problems of having your own private wallets or hiring third party. And last but not least, and I talked a little bit about this last week, is that this whole debate around Bitcoin is really about how best to fight inflation. And there's so many other ways in which you can fight inflation. You don't have to put all of your eggs in the Bitcoin basket. Now, you mentioned if you're an investor in Bitcoin, if you already hold Bitcoin, I would recommend, start taking some profits off of it, even if you have to pay some tax. I think it's going to pay dividends for you longer term. But if you're looking to put your money in, you really need to understand that it's got upside potential for sure, but it also has some tremendous downside volatility risk. And so make sure that it's appropriate for your particular portfolio.
Basically, Marshall, you're making transactions with money you can't hold in your hand. It's basically something you're investing in it's not there. So I think people want to know, is it here to stay?
Well, no one really knows. I don't know, and no one else knows either. But what I do know is I think, kind of back to my point about the monopoly power on money, I think ultimately governments want to maintain that power. And if Bitcoin continues to grow, ultimately the regulatory scrutiny is going to get so intense that they don't necessarily have to destroy Bitcoin to render it somewhat useless. And so I think ultimately that's going to be its demise. Right. But in the short to near term, yeah, you can probably make some money, but you need to understand that it's going to be tremendously volatile. Whatever you put your money in, you're going to lose it.
We got to wrap up there. Marshall Clay, we do appreciate it. Happy New Year to you.
Happy New Year to you, Mike.
All right, 7:55. We'll be back with more in just a moment.
Save big at Mazer Appliance. Truckloads of bargains just arrived.